Live.
We're live.
Hello.
Hello, Lucas.
Hello. Hello, Honoree. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Hello,
Who are
world.
you? Who are you?
My name is Lucas, and I help nonfiction authors create courses from their books. And you're Honoree Corder. What do you do, Honoree?
I laugh at you. Oh my gosh, I'm Honoree Corder, and I help professionals to write, publish, and monetize their books, or I do it for them.
That's right.
And this is the EBMC, the one-stop shop for courses, information, and transformation for professionals who want to write, publish, monetize their books, turn them into courses, start masterminds,
All the
achieve
cool
more
stuff.
in less time. You know, all the things.
That sounds amazing.
It,
Sign me up. Where do I go to hang out with those
I
people?
think you did. I think you're here. Yes. Yes.
I'm putting my.
What's going on over there?
Oh my gosh.
Breaking news. I'm getting tea
Yeah.
delivery. Thank you.
Oh, hey, is that Byron?
It's Byron.
Hey, Byron.
Hi.
Hi.
We just saw his shadow. Thank you. Thank you, honey.
That's his shadow's breakthrough moment on the show.
It's not the shadow.
No,
It's not
that shadow is
It's just
a
Byron.
different creature altogether.
That's right. We also have shadow. Not pictured.
Yeah, Byron.
Not pictured.
Byron could be the star of the show if
you missed 38 pounds of brisket.
I did. So for those that aren't familiar with the recency of events, I had to leave Tennessee earlier than the rest of the group for the Empire Builders Masterclass mid-year or mastermind, sorry.
Mastermind.
Mid-year.
Whatever.
And Byron had all of that amazing brisket prepared, and I missed it by a day.
Yeah. That's all right.
So if that doesn't prove that I came out there to see you and see all the friends, I don't know what does, because usually my excuse is I'm coming for the brisket.
I'm coming for the brisket. Well, the good news is we now know that you can get here in an hour and 40 minutes.
Yes.
So,
and that was awesome.
By the time he puts the brisket on, you could already be here and be 3 sheets to the wind. The thing. It could happen.
I made sure that Tennessee knew I was there. We put a dent in the bourbon supplies.
Ah, yes. Yes, we're 4 or 5 or 6 fingers down.
Man, those old fashions were good.
Yeah, so it's been a minute since we have had a live. So we had an ABM week off, and then we had 4th of July off. Happy birthday, America.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And so it feels like it's been several weeks because it has. So what have you been reading and doing? What? Give us an update. What's new and exciting? I know you missed a minute. You miss a lot, right?
Yeah, it's like, what have you been doing? It's like everything. I've been reading. This is a really fun read, and what a great discovery of an author. I'll explain in a moment, but it's titled Kitty, and it's from S.Q. McGrath. And first of all,
sounds innocent, but I know you.
It's not. Basically, it's a poltergeist story. Somewhat of a poltergeist / curse kind of deal. They've summoned a creature. It's great. The cool thing about Kitty is that I've finally been able to read a long piece of fiction from someone I've been connected with. So I've connected with S.Q. McGrath on social. She's amazing. She's very supportive. She's fun to watch. She's informative. She's innovative, all the things. And she's also fully self-published. And, you know, I've got a soft spot for that, as you do. And she's an exceptional writer who also is the only person that touches her books. She does her own editing and proofreading. Now, normally the red flags are flying, you know, you know,
is my heart going to come through my chest, or she's just really gifted?
it turns out she's also been an English. She's been an English teacher for 22 years or
Okay.
20 years. So,
Okay. All right.
and she doesn't have blinders. So I've been reading this book and I've been super impressed with the quality of the writing.
Okay.
And yeah, I interviewed her for my podcast 2 or so weeks ago. And she was like, if you find anything wrong with that book, you better tell me immediately. I was like, great. I told her.
Or she'll kill you in a future book. I think
Yeah,
that's
so
what's going to happen.
outstanding writer, outstanding editor. She could just straight up be an editor. Yeah, and she's a full-on pantser, which I don't know how she does it, but that's what she does. And so it's been a great read.
Wow. Some people have a gift that they
Yeah.
curate.
Yep.
Right?
And then the other thing I've been reading is Shrouded Horror, which is from K.C. Griffin. It actually releases today.
Okay. Congratulations to Casey.
That is a short story horror collection. And yeah, she's fantastic. She writes Weird West.
K period C period or CASEY?
K period C period.
Okay, so this is a horror. This is a tell. All horror writers go by their initials. So I'm going to be very suspicious of people. Elsie Marino, SQ McGrath, Casey Griffin.
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 GRIFANT.
FIFANT. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm super suspicious of all people who go by their initials. And so my pen name for my fiction is HC Quarter.
There you
So
go.
I haven't published anything yet. I'm going to rethink that.
Well,
Because I'm not publishing horror. Just saying.
She's doing some really cool stuff. Like this is really good, like author kind of small business thinking. She not only does she specialize, she's like niched into weird West horror, but she's also creating a card game around her characters and around the world she's building because her husband designs games.
Oh, that's so fun.
Isn't that cool?
I like that.
So she actually was one of the people that put on the StokerCon event in San Diego this year. She's the local chapter.
Okay.
And so the local chapter kind of carries the event for the year.
Yeah.
And they did a fantastic job. And so anyways, not only is she just gifted at like putting on events and but her writing is so fun. And they actually speared a panel on weird Western horror. And it was such a fun panel because for anyone who's never lived in the desert, and I know that Honoree has, and I've spent quite a bit of time out there.
Yeah.
It is a different place. It is a magical place. And you can really have fun writing fiction in the desert, I think. So.
Okay. I didn't do it while I lived there. You read anything happy?
Yeah, I've been reading Vision to Reality, which we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Second edition. How short-term massive action equals long-term maximum results.
Yes, and it does.
I don't know if you've heard of her. Author's this lady named Honoree Quarter.
I have heard of her.
What about you? What have you been reading?
So let's see. I have also been reading Vision to Reality. And I'm working on the rewrite of Business Dating. So I'm going to be republishing that later. But I pulled out an oldie but a goodie. I don't know if you know about this. Do you know about this book?
No.
Thinker Toys. It's all about creativity. Michael Michalko, A Handbook of Creative Thinking Techniques. I have had this book for, let's see if I put a date in it. Probably it's 20 years. The copyright is 2006.
Excellent.
So not quite 20 years, but darn close. And I still have notes in here from when I read it.
I love seeing that book is still relevant, you know?
Right. It's a really great size. It's just creative exercises. And whenever I get a little stuck on something, I just pull it off the shelf. And because I live in a small space, my actual physical collection is small, like what I keep my hands on. what I keep, close by. And the other book I just started reading is Right Thing Right Now by Ryan Holiday. It's the third in the Virtues series. So he wrote Discipline is English.
Say it in French.
English is my first language. No, je ne sais pas. Je ne peux pas. He wrote Discipline is Destiny, or Destiny is Discipline. Discipline is I don't
That
know.
makes
It's one of
sense.
those. And Courage is Calling. And so Right Thing Right Now is the next virtue in that series. So interesting. It just started it. I've had it. It was delivered to me on launch release day because I had pre-ordered the physical copy, and I just started it 2 nights ago. Just got around to doing that because I have been doing all of the book launch things and all of the book things. Yeah.
That, when
And
you say
the
you
EBM and the EBM
Yeah.
and the right, there's just never ending. I never run out of things to do. I never complete everything on my to-do list.
Right.
However, I do accomplish a lot because of what we're going to talk about. It's my answer to how do you get so many things done? This is how. And I either run out of brain power or daylight. Depends on the time of the year.
Well, and just so everyone's aware, like we used this book in your mastermind, this last meeting.
Yeah.
Not the whole book. We didn't like sit down and read it together, but we took the STMA approach to some goal setting for the next quarter.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was really helpful to be able to sit down. I mean, we can unpack this a little bit when we start talking about the book, but it was really helpful for me to go, okay, let's look at this one big goal for the next 100 days and see what it looks like when you start mapping out all the dates, which I'd already had, but the time period for my original goal had become compressed. So it fit really well that I could say, okay, if I'm going to do this in the next 3 or so months,
right.
What does that look like? And then of course I had a moment of like alarm bells going off. dude, you gotta hurry up.
Right. I think there was a little back talk from your part of the room.
What do you mean? What, like, I don't want to do this? Yeah. So I'm not one of those people that's,
oh wait. Yeah, that was me. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. So when I first saw the sheet, because Honoree does a really good job when we go to the mastermind, she doesn't necessarily tell you exactly what you're getting ready to do, which is good. It's a really good thing. Anyone who's ever been in coaching knows that. You don't want to give your client or your group too much time to overthink what you're getting ready to do. So it's that's a legit strategy. But it's funny because you're getting ready to look down the barrel of a challenge that's going to put you on your toes a bit. So I vocalized that.
Yeah.
It's basically what happened. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. I don't think we can even spell the words that were.
Oh no, I don't want to face reality.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I want to face reality. Overachiever, but I don't want to do the things. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to see the truth.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth.
Yeah, so basically, the vision or reality thing. It's funny because I just want to preface this. Like, I'm not one of those people that buys into like the fancy, shiny new thing. I just am not. I'm not like, I get it. There's a market, it's like everyone's selling a method, everyone's selling a way. Some of it's just repackaged stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've always admired about what you write is that you actually write about the things you do. You're not just coming up with something that you can sell. You're actually communicating what you do in your business, and it works. And so I listen when you say, hey, look, I'm getting ready to put out the second edition of this book. I think part of the conversation should definitely be around not only what the book is about, but why put out a second edition of a book, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So can you tell people briefly, what is the purpose of Vision to Reality? Like, why did you write the book?
Yeah. Well, so when I wrote the book originally, and so we have to go back to 1990 first, when I was, let's see, I'm going to turn 40 this year. So I've changed my birth year from 1970 to 1984. So in 1990, I was 6 years old. No, I was 20 years old in 1990, and I was doing the same thing that everybody does, which is setting three goals. I was like, what's happening to the screen?
Just gonna share this while you're talking.
Thank you. I was setting 3 goals. Everybody says, set your top 3 goals, write them on a 3x5 card, put them on your bathroom mirror. So I had been doing that. And I realized 2 things. I realized I don't like math, and every quarter has a different number of days in it.
Right.
So I was always like, well, how does Q2 over Q1? It's like, well, Q1 had a different number of days than Q2. So how do I figure that out? I have to multiply and I have to divide, and that's a pain in the tuchus. So I decided I was just going to, my original goal was I want to make $100,000 in 100 days.
So that was your big, hairy.
That was my big, hairy, audacious goal. So the goal was make $100,000 in 100 days, which meant every day was 1%, and every day would be how much per day? $1,000.
Yep.
Super easy.
Yep.
And it just kind of clicked in my head that if I made $1,000 every day, that in 100 days I would hit my goal. And if I did more than that, I could know exactly how much further ahead of my goal I was. So if I made 114,000, I'd be 14% over goal. And if I made $14,000, I'd be 86% below goal. And I could do that in my head, and it was very easy. And I didn't have to worry about what was happening before or after.
Sure.
So I just started doing these 100-day challenges myself. So fast forward to I think I was 33 or 34, I can't remember. And one of my best girlfriends, I was her husband's coach. And we were on the phone, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm, very close to the end of my 100 days." And I never had talked about it. I had been a business coach for several years. I had been working with people, but I never talked about what I did, because affirmations were for weirdos. Vision setting, vision casting was for weirdos, and goal setting and having goals up in your house was for weirdos. And so I did all those things. I just never talked about them because I thought that it was weird. And I was weird, and you don't talk about the weird things, right? It's like, it's not a Facebook status. Hi, I'm super weird. So I did not talk about it, but she was one of my best friends. And I just said, I'm at the, end of my 100-day challenge. And she's like, "What's your 100-day challenge?" And I was like, "Oh, I came up with this thing." And I called it the short-term massive action, because I'd given it a name, as I would do. And she was like, "Oh, Jason needs that." And I was like, "He does?" And she's like, "Yeah, that would be something really cool. He would like something like that." And of course, my inner brain was like going, "No, he wouldn't like that." But I thought, something simultaneous that I had been thinking was that at the time I was charging $2,000 a month for coaching. So $1,000 a session, $12,000, 6-month contract, and there was no deliverable. I never promised a deliverable. It's like, I'm awesome. I'm going to change your life. You're going to achieve your goals. But there was no deliverable.
Outside of the time commitment, right?
Outside of the time. Yeah, we're going to have these 2 conversations. We're going to double your income and triple your time off. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a great time. I'm fabulous. Also funny. Also humble. It'll be great.
Aren't I
funny?
No
one ever said, "What's that?"
Aren't I funny?
Aren't I funny?
Tell me I'm funny.
Yeah. But I never really focused on a deliverable and writing the manual for my clients, which was just my manual. Like what I did with myself, doing my 100-day plan, setting my goals, writing my affirmations, figuring out what my day 1 was, what my day 100 was, all of those things. And then for my clients, for the purposes of what are the stages that people go through? Because there's always like I'm really excited about something, and oh my gosh, I'm in my own head because I think I might fail, and oh my gosh, I did it. Oh, this is amazing. I achieved my goals. Everybody goes through these same stages. I noticed when I was coaching with them in general. So I applied it to the 100 days. So I came up with the STMA 100-day coaching program, which was the Honoree STMA 100-day coaching program, short-term massive action. So I wrote the book originally because I was in a mastermind that I had formed, not EBM, but I was a member of a mastermind, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to write this book that goes with the coaching program," because a little, Mr. Miyagi situation, my clients would be like, "Okay, so why do we wax on and wax off?" And I'd be like, "Why are you spending your $1,000 asking me about my philosophy when I'm giving you the thing that you either need to be solving one of your problems or strategizing an opportunity, but not talking about the methodology?"
Right.
Just trust me. I have there's a method to my madness. And so I thought, if I write a companion book separate from the manual that explains my philosophy, why all of these pieces and parts are here, how they all work together, what the 5 points of accountability are, and what the process is, and what the stages are that you're going to go through, and how, it kind of backs you into a corner in a good way, so that you are achieving your goals and turning your vision into your reality. I thought that would be great. I was just writing the book for the people who were taking the STMA. That's it. We're using the STMA. So at the time, I was doing one-on-one groups of women and then small groups of professionals that were men and women. And I wanted them just to have something to read. So I could go, look, here, this is what's happening. If you have any questions, let me know. But let's not use your precious time. Let's not use your coaching time. I was really trying to be protective of their coaching time and just say, this should answer all of your questions. Well, my mastermind folks, there were probably 6 of us in that group, they all read the manuscript and they said, you need to publish this as a book. So this was in 2013. So I had been doing the STMA 3 times a year for 23 years at that point, and then had been sharing it with clients for about 10 years. And so maybe I'm a little slow, but it took me 10 years to write the companion. And even though I do not still do that delivery method of coaching, I have certified coaches. And last year I certified 2 new coaches, and it caused me to go back and look at the book and realize it needed to be updated. So originally it was a companion. This is like the longest answer ever.
Well, it's been great because it's not only but it gives a little insight into the motivation behind the book, not just, I had a great thing and I figured I'd share it with the world. You were actually using this to complement your coaching program.
Yes, I was using it to complement my coaching program, to protect the time integrity of what I was selling, because I didn't want to spend time explaining to someone why I was having them to do something or why something worked. And so I was writing this book as just a companion. It's like, in case you care, in case it matters to you, here's why we're doing this. And then as people, specifically business coaches mostly, were coming to me and saying, I want to have a methodology. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Can you teach me how to deliver this as a coach? And so I created a certification program, an STMA certification program, and have had coaches throughout the years that are using that in their business. And so I don't do that anymore. But it's still available for people. So when Brianna and Jen specifically came and said, we want to do this, I was like, great, I should probably update that book. So thus, the 2nd edition was born.
Gotcha.
What's interesting is I haven't released anything in the personal transformation, motivational space for quite some time. And the book is doing as well as some other books that I have gotten behind a lot, because it wasn't for me. The 2nd edition was just for Brianna and Jen. But of course, I would be remiss if I didn't post it everywhere 11 billion times. So if you're seeing it everywhere, you're welcome. Right? Yes. It's always fun to get new reviews and to read them. And so I've gotten some good reviews on the book so far. And interestingly, because of the the back end of publishing, the actual technical things. I actually approve the files a week before launch day, and the book actually started selling before I talked about it. I formed a very small advanced reader team, and I sold 3 times the number of books as I have on my advanced reader team.
Wow.
Within the first couple of days. Here's why that's interesting. When you form an advanced reader team for your books, so we're going to talk books just for a second because I can't help myself. Expect that maybe 25 or 30% of your team is actually going to buy, read, and review the book.
Right.
Not 100% of them, and certainly not 300% of that number.
Right.
So I'm feeling very blessed and lucky and grateful because as I was reading the book and putting it through my intensive review process to make sure that it's in good shape, I was reacquainting myself with parts of the program that I take for granted. Today's day 46. Today's my day 46. So you can ask me at any given time, like, what day is it? How are you doing percent to goal on each of your goals? Are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you on track? And I will generally know those things. They're totally my goal achievement nerd side. And it is the answer to the question, how do I get a lot done?
Gotcha.
This is it. This is it.
Well, if you look at the table of contents, you can kind of, just like a good nonfiction book should be set up, that it's kind of intuitive when you open a book and look at the table of contents about what you can get for value out of the book, right? Because I think that some people get a little too cute with their chapter titles and you really can't tell what the book's about.
Sure.
Yours are great because it starts right out the bat. It's like, what do you really want and why don't you have it? Like, so if you guys are wondering why I was like, oh, when I saw the form, because I'm familiar with this book. I started reading the original first edition of this book, read last year, because I was dealing with some goal achieving obstacles. And Honoree's like, have you read my book yet? Have you? You should read it. I wrote a book. And I was like, oh, let me go take a look at this. Of course, I had someone else in my ear the whole time going, that's my favorite book of hers. How come you haven't read it yet? Like, I was like,
who's saying that?
There shall remain nameless.
Oh, okay. I think I know now. Okay.
So I was like, man, I really need to get off my butt and read this book.
All right.
And that first chapter was really eye-opening because when you've probably been carrying this motivation to do what you want to do for a little while. I mean, most people aren't acting like on this like sudden impulses. Right. Unrelated to a goal they've already kind of subconsciously set for themselves. Oftentimes the goal or the idea or the thing has been there and there's a gap between what you want and what you have. And I love that you jump right into it. It's not like there's this like you're going to burn half the book talking about why this book exists. It's like, let's get to work. Why don't you have what you want? Like and that's basically identifying things that are keeping you from getting to the goal that you've set for yourself, whether you've really committed to it or not. And then you talk about what's possible. And I think that pulling those two things into the beginning of the book is great because they tend to be, this is how you can tell if you've ever coached people before, guys, as a coach that these are some of the obstacles that people really struggle with before they can get to actually achieving what they're trying to do. Is they don't envision what's actually possible with the conditions that they're in and what the world really looks like. And they don't understand why they haven't achieved the goal that they've set for themselves. All they can look at is external forces, sometimes not openly admitting the internal things. And chapter 1 and 2 kind of force you to take a look at those things. But then you back that up with chapter 3, which is talking about how you can take this vision and turn it into a reality for yourself. And what I love about this particular approach is that it's not 2 years away. When you're saying your reality, it's your reality in 100 days. Like, look, this is close proximity.
Yep.
It feels very possible and very real because of that.
Yep. You're not going to achieve probably your bigger vision in 100 days. If it's really big, it's going to take several 100-day cycles. And all you can do is work on, where you are today, be where your feet are, right? Like take action today. However, one of the things that I recognized very early on in my pursuit of goals is that if I didn't give myself enough time, if you give yourself 7 days to lose 70 pounds, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Right. But if you give yourself 700 days to lose 70 pounds, you go, okay, every 100 days, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, like clockwork. And then what am I going to do today in order to move that needle? It feels like it's a chunk. But if you say, I'm going to lose 70 pounds in 700 days, then you're like, well, that's 700 days away. Where's the cheesecake?
Yeah.
At least
I've
that's
got
what I would
time.
do. At least that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I look at writing books, and I do this with writing books as well. When you look at writing a book and you say, okay, my book is going to be 15,000 words or 50,000 words or epic fantasy, 120,000 words. I can't write all of that in one day. I can't in one sitting sit down and accomplish this goal. However, if I chunk it down, if I give myself enough time and I have consistent progress, I'm going to make it. So in my goal pursuit, I noticed that I would say, oh, I want to do something this month. This month, I'm going to do the thing. And all of a sudden it was the new month and I hadn't achieved the thing. Even though I may have been very persistent and consistent in my pursuit, I hadn't given it enough time, it being traction, it being enough time. I will always have the question, how can I gain weight so much faster than I lose it? So annoying, right? I can gain 5 pounds in 2 days. I cannot lose 5 pounds in 2 days. It's so annoying.
I can eat much faster than I can run.
Eat much faster than I can run, apparently. If you give yourself only 30 days to do this very big thing, you're not going to get into the momentum of achieving what it is that you want.
Right.
If you give yourself a year to do something, you're not going to start right now because you have a year. A year is forever. But 100 days is a pretty sweet spot. It's just a little over 90 days. It's just a little over 3 months. It gives you enough time to feel the catch, right? So if you've ever been stuck in the mud and the tires are spinning and spinning and spinning, and then you put some sand or rock or whatever, like you can feel it catch. You can start to see, oh, I am making progress. So I can look back and go, okay, well, my goal, and we can use weight loss just as a, because your background is as a trainer and my background is as hiring trainers. Right. But consistently going to the gym, there is no progress made over time or instantaneously, but there is progress made over time. So I can look at what used to be heavy. I could not do 7-pound sidearm raises when I first started. And when my first trainer handed them to me, I was like, that's too heavy. I don't know what you're doing.
And he's like, lift the weights.
Well, and so I wasn't able to do very many repetitions, and then we went down in weight and I was able to feel successful. But eventually what happened and what happens today is all these years later, and this is again 30 years ago. So I have almost 35 years ago that I hired my first trainer. So all of this started coming at the same time for me. The 100 days is now I do 12 and 15 pound side raises.
Which is awesome.
Which is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
For someone who would have said, well, upper body strength isn't my jam. And whenever I say something like that, and this is just me being a nerd again, is I go, well, is that really true? Can I really not do that? Is that not really possible for me? What would have to happen for it to be possible for me? So I wouldn't do only 7 pounds now when my theoretically younger, better self was going, 7 pounds is heavy. Now I can do the 12 and 15 pound side raises because I have worked up to it and I've been consistent over time. All of that to say is I found that like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, 30 days is too short, a year is too long, 100 days is just right. And it also provided the opportunity for me and eventually my clients, that 100-day period provides enough feedback and enough of a period of time for a learning curve that they didn't feel like they were failing either. Because it's an artificial period of time. Nobody takes away your birthday, right?
Yeah.
No, right? No one says, well, that's it. You failed. You
Right.
can't achieve the goal on day 102 because then you suck, right? None of that exists. It's just fast enough that you can go, okay, I'm going to press the reset button and I'm going to try again. So when I was working with clients and we would sign a 1-year coaching agreement, I would say, we're going to do 100 days 3 times, and then we're going to have plenty of time off for rest and recharging. And they were like, what? Time away from work? I can't do that. It's like, you can when you're achieving more in those 100 days than you normally do all year.
Yeah.
You're going to feel very comfortable unplugging and pulling, pulling everything in and taking a break. I call it being in the soup, right? So the 100 days is like, I'm in the soup and I'm being very intentional and purposeful and all that stuff. And then I get to day 100 and then I take a break. I don't ever start day 1 on day 101.
Okay.
I take anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks off in between the start and the finish of a 100-day program. So it gives you a little time to assess. You do a postmortem, like what happened, what went well, what didn't go well, what do I need to let go of, what do I need to stop doing, what do I need to start doing, all those things. And then you go, okay, now it's my brand new day 1, and it's like the year is new again, right? It's like we got a brand new shiny new year, except it's not a year, it's 100 days, and you can, except you can keep the momentum going with a little time to recharge. And you can continue to be successful, and you can say, well, I want to carry over. I didn't achieve all the goals this time. And sometimes it takes a few 100-day sprints or sessions to really get the feel for the 100 days, because everyone goes through that period of time in the middle, that ugly middle, where at the beginning we're really excited. It's going to be a great 100 days. I'm super consistent. Everything is great. And then there's that ugly middle, like writing a book. There's an ugly middle, like being in a weight loss program or being in a fitness program is the ugly middle. There's always the fun beginning and the yay, we made it to the end. And there's that ugly middle piece. Everyone goes through that.
You know what's funny about that is I posit that some people have an ugly beginning. And I used to see this a lot with training clients.
Also the beginning is ugly too. Yeah. All right. But you're more excited in the beginning. You can push through.
Sure, your motivation might be there.
Yes, your motivation level is high.
Oftentimes what we would find is people were like motivated to get in there, but they weren't motivated to do the work up front. Like in the beginning, there was like, they had to get in this drum beat get like, anyways, the same thing with like business goals, right? Like people are really get really excited about setting these audacious goals for their businesses or
setting up a business. I'm really excited. I have a new business. I'm super excited about, but as Ali would say, you have to embrace the suck.
Yeah. It's going to hurt for a little while.
It will always hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I said a little while. What was I saying?
I don't know.
That's how you know it's working.
Lucas, come in. Is this thing on? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, to use the gym analogy again, if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing. It's like, one of the magic things or magical things you do with the book, and I find that this is a bit of a sticking point for some nonfiction books. Just my opinion, is that they're really good about expressing the platitudes and like the higher vision and all these things. And when you have a book titled with the word vision right in the title, right? It's like vision to reality. It's like, you did not skip on the reality part. You get into which, I mean, here, actually, let me bring the cover back up for a second. So I brought it up earlier, but this way we can have a little bit of a midpoint cover reveal too. When you look at this book and you think vision to reality, I want to make sure that everyone understands there's a whole lot of the reality part in this book. You're not just dreaming, and you're not just talking about what they could possibly have or could possibly do. You start to unpack some of the things that are keeping people from doing what they are envisioning. And I think that that's such a great thing, because especially for someone like me, I don't like to say I'm skeptical because I am an optimist, right? I am a very positive motivated person. I'm one of those people that's like, yeah, there's almost nothing we can't do. Yes, ma'am.
Which is also why the horror writing is a little confusing. Just okay, carry on.
Anything's possible. But I just feel like the things that people start to miss on when they want to achieve, like when they've got this great vision, they see all the great things. We don't often envision the negative things because the things that could keep us from our goal, because we're kind of taught like, hey, don't focus on the negative, right? Like focus on the positive. Yes, but be aware of the risk and the negatives and figure out how to manage those. And you're good about talking about that in the book. But then you go, oh, okay, we're done dreaming, guys. It's time to get to work. You know, the power of laser focus is chapter 5. Like we've set your goal. You've got a vision. You know what's possible. You already know what you want. You know why you don't have it. Let's get to work. Like you need to get focused. Like you need to put your mind to this thing, not just sit back with your cup of tea and think about what could be. Actually, like what happens when we start focusing on achieving and planning properly and then executing, and you move like right into the things that start to hit people dead smack in the face when they start the work.
Yeah.
It's too much. Well, who are the people on your bench? Who's on your team? Who can support you? Who can you leverage? You know, what can you do to make this less of a all me thing? And I love that you talk about old habits eating good intentions for lunch, right? Like you could mean well all day, but it's your habits and your focus and your like how you're using your resources. Like when I step back and look at that, I go, yeah, this is all the stuff that, you know, the military kind of embeds in you is like, oh, we have a method of doing the things we do, but it's all about getting dirty. You have to do the work. It's not necessarily glorious. You're not getting recognized for it in the moment.
No,
people don't see it. You're not allowed to talk about it sometimes. And but you do have to be very focused and committed. You have to be very clear on what you're trying to achieve. You have to understand the risks. Oh, and by the way, the more you develop a habit or a rhythm or a kind of a way of doing this, the more your results are realized, because those habits will eat your intentions for lunch.
Right.
Talk a little bit about why that was so important to was that, you've coached so many people through these types of experiences.
Well, our habits are what we go to automatically. It is the thing that sometimes happens without our awareness. Where, and I talk a little bit about the different instances in the book where you might go have that afternoon cup of coffee because you didn't get enough rest. So your habit might be, and when I first wrote this book, there was not the attention on scrolling where, I must have watched 10 shorts this morning, but on the treadmill. So bad habit combined with good habit. But we have a lot of EBMC shorts now. So I'm particularly aware. I have to change that. I'm surprised the dogs didn't go crazy. The doorbell alarm to remind me to do something. That's my hydration alarm that's not supposed to go off on Thursday.
Oh,
anyway,
well, there's a habit.
That's a habit, right? So that's how I engineer habits, is to have reminders. But nevertheless, there is this habit now for the scrolling. And people say, well, I'm tired because I knew I needed to not watch that next episode on Netflix, or I knew I needed to stop doing something. In the reader world, I stayed up way too late reading, right? But if you don't give yourself enough rest or sleep, and sleep is a success strategy, if you don't get enough rest, then you're not able to get up early enough, et cetera, et cetera. So then we have the afternoon coffee habit. So sometimes the habit is in reaction to another habit or poor planning or improper planning. So let's not even make someone feel bad about it. Let's just say, let's reverse engineer how we are going to be intentional and purposeful. And we're going to put habits in place so that we can be successful. And it's really just looking at what our results are. So for me, it's snacking. I'm a big snacker. I love snacking. I love chocolate. This is not a secret. Anyone who knows me. I haven't had chocolate for 47 days.
What?
Yeah. So I have this whole challenge that I baked into my 100 days this time, which is a conversation maybe for after I finish the challenge. So in another 53 days,
Right.
I'll talk about it. I'll talk about the results and why I did it later. And you can look at the results of your life and you can realize what your habits are. So are you waking up and getting ready for the day, or are you waking up and not getting ready for the day in a way that's most effective? And it's not a judgment. It's just a way to figure out, are you turning your vision into your reality, or are you just holding a vision and not moving closer to your reality? So habits are the foundation of all of the entire STMA. There are the 6 daily actions that should become the daily habits. And there's 2 that are personal, the morning and the evening, right? The morning routine. And then how are you spending time with friends and family? Because what are you doing this all for if you don't have friends and family? Right. And then there are the core 4 activities, which are around building your business or building your practice or building your professional life within, having a corporate career. And so those are the 6 things I've identified for everyone that I've ever coached. There are those 6 activities that make a huge difference in moving toward your success. So not only do I say, here's 100 days and you need 3 goals, but also here are the core things, the 6 things you need to do, the 6 daily actions that become your habits, and then the core 4 that are building your business and moving you toward your financial goals, your business goals in general.
Right.
So if you can turn your actions into your habits, then you're going to be most of the way there, because they're going to automatically take over, like the habits you already have are automatically take over. Like you sit down and you turn on the TV instead of picking up a book. And I'm not saying that you have to pick up a book instead of watching TV, because I watch TV. Right? I mean, I'm not saying that anything in everything in moderation is amazing.
Right.
Right. So it's not a judgment. It's just what's effective for you. Is it getting you closer to what you want or not? And then analyzing it and seeing if there's a system that you can put in place that's going to help you to get more of what you want.
Yeah. I mean, creating that routine, I'll put on my nerd systems engineering hat for a moment. We would think about like streamlining processes, streamlining systems, streamlining all these things, these complex assemblies of people, equipment, whatever your system is comprised of, to gain efficiencies, because efficiency and effectiveness being 2 primary goals of those designs was really important. So when you design a production schedule, for example, the more routine and controlled it is and refined it is, the more efficient and effective it becomes. Having an awareness of that, to me, is like at least 50% of the battle, because oftentimes it just takes you being able to be aware at all times that you're measuring yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like every time, like to your point about every time you pick up the remote, are you acknowledging the fact that you're picking up the remote? You don't have to feel guilty, but you should go, is this what I should be doing?
I'm making
a
choice. I'm making a choice right now. And I'm
I'm
making an intentional choice, as opposed to finding myself doing something.
Yep.
And going, oh, that's not what I had in mind. That's not what I wanted to do, but I didn't set myself up to win. I feel like people don't set themselves up to win.
Right.
They don't set themselves up to lose, but they don't set themselves up to win.
Yep.
And they're kind of leaving it to chance. And the chances are you're more likely to eat cheesecake than chicken if you're not preparing. Right?
God, I love cheesecake. Why did you bring up cheesecake?
I know you and I are all about the pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
We're all about the pumpkin pie.
Oh my God. See, now you brought cheesecake and pumpkin pie in the same. We're in trouble. Back out.
Yes. Well, but that's anything in moderation. But if left to my own devices, with no vision in mind, I would have one day and one the next day, and maybe one for breakfast and one for dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, that
Well,
I have to be intentional. I don't know what you have to
right.
be. I have to be intentional
I do.
if I want to get everything done. If I want to produce the work product, have
Right.
the clientele, get the results, reach the goals, I
Yeah.
have to be more purposeful and intentional than not, with
Absolutely.
intentional breaks where I am not focused on anything and I'm just taking it off. Thank you very much.
Well,
So that I don't hate it. I don't
that's
hate
right.
it if you're always training.
Mhm.
If the Olympics were every year, I bet the athletes wouldn't show up all the time, right? I mean, if you're always training, and there's no off season, how do you rest and recharge, regroup, reset, rejuvenate, and then go
Mm.
on to the next thing? I don't think that that's effective, and we are not human doings, we're human beings, right? But I think
Sure.
also there's the pursuit. I don't know that I ever want to stop the pursuit.
Well, we think about, so it's funny because from like an engineer's perspective, we would design systems with certain materials, right? This
Yeah.
one's aluminum, this one's metal or steel. Sorry, I said metal. This one is made with this gauge wire and is in a cooling system. This one's made with the same gauge wire, it's the same power running through it, has no cooling system. All of these things contribute to whether the system's going to last a certain period of time, how it'll perform, how reliable it'll be. All these things. When we think about the physical assets in our world, we think about those things. When you go buy a car, you're like, how dependable is this car? How much is the maintenance going to cost me? How often do I have to do maintenance? You think about those things, but you don't think about that when you think about yourself. And we're we're physical beings. We have physical limitations. Yes, we should challenge those things.
Yeah.
We should know what we're capable of and what our limits are, but we can't run in the red all the time. One of the things I was really struggling with when we first met was trying to seek balance in how much I'm supposed to invest in things like sleep, because I didn't come from a culture
Right.
where that
No.
was a very high priority.
No. Mm-mm.
In fact, we made fun of the people who did prioritize that. We'd be like, what do you mean the aviators are sleeping? Oh, that's right. They have to get a certain amount of sleep or they're not allowed to
Aw.
fly. And
Bless
we'd
their
say,
hearts. We
isn't
don't want them to crash the plane. Isn't that
that
special?
cute? Yeah. But the reality is they can't do this like we can because the risk is so much higher.
That's right. You
yeah,
are, yes, you are high maintenance because you are high performance.
that's right.
And
They
I do
are.
believe I went to bed at 8:00 last night and I was ready to go to bed at 6:30.
What time did you wake up though?
4:30.
Oh my gosh. Now,
4:30.
people would say, oh my God, waking up at 4:30. Yeah, well, I went to bed at 8,
I don't. That's not
Now,
my habit.
yeah,
It
I
probably
didn't.
could be because I feel fantastic today. I feel rested, all the things, but I hadn't gotten enough sleep the last, I don't know, all the nights for a little while, like several nights in a row. I had not gotten enough rest.
Right.
And so I drew a line in the sand and it was like, did I want to do other things? Yes. Did I want to stay up late? I did. That my inner child was like, lady, settle down. Stay up.
What made me realize like it wasn't working for me? In my products was I shot video for a course late at night when I was working.
Oh.
And the next day I saw it and I said, oh my God, dude, you look like you haven't slept for a week. And I was like, I should have shot that in the morning instead of at 2:00 in the morning. Like in the morning when I woke up, not in the morning right before I went to bed. You start to realize when you can observe yourself and measure your performance, you
Yeah.
start to realize your performance strengths and shortfalls. And I feel like that
Yes.
awareness you were talking about is you constantly measuring yourself, just being
I am.
aware of like,
Yeah.
hey, am I at my best right now? Am I writing as fast or as well as I could?
Yeah.
It's funny because Tammy will be like, what are you doing? Because I'm pacing. Like I'll be walking around the house. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need to take a break between chapters. My brain was cooking. It was running high.
Yeah.
I need to bring it down.
Yeah.
I need to level out. I need my mind to get cleared. And I'm aware of what that feels like and looks like now.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to push past it because it'll just not be great. Now, once I get my mind cleared, I don't care if it takes 30 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes. But once it's done and I'm ready to get back in, I'm going to fly when I write. So
1
if I want,
hour,
yeah,
one morning, one productive morning hour
Yep.
equals 2 or 3 afternoon hours 100% of the time. And when you are low on reserves, sleep, exercise, hydration, food, everything, you're working so much harder. You're having to work so much harder. Your culture in the military it was fantastic. I think the military culture is fantastic because it teaches you what's possible. Because a lot of people, if you listen to a book like, or read a book like Living with a SEAL, Jesse Itzler, the founder of NetJets, who's married to Sarah Blakely, who was on my do a bespoke book wish list.
She's done a few things.
Yeah. The founder of Spanx, obviously. Jesse had a SEAL live with him. And in the book, I remember the SEAL saying, when you think you're done, when you think you have absolutely given it your all, when you think that you are just like, put a fork in it, it's finished, you're 60% of the way to your capability.
Was that David
It's your
Goggins?
mind. I don't know. It could be. But, and I haven't read Can't Hurt Me, but I have his other book. I have David Goggins' other book. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So many books.
The guy, does he own a basketball team? Her husband?
Jesse?
Yeah.
Jesse? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
I think so. But anyway, the SEAL is saying you're 60% of the way to your capability. So I think about that when I'm running, when I'm lifting, when I'm doing, all the things. And I'm just like, man, I'm unable to do one more push-up, or am I? And so I think that's the great thing about the military culture, is because it takes you from whining to winning.
Yeah.
Right. And it teaches you what's really possible. So when I talk about my 100-day challenge and the little mini challenge I've baked into it later, this has really taught me a few things about myself, which have been very helpful and very interesting. So I think it's helpful to learn what's possible for you. I also think then you have carried some of that over into, well, I've gone days on missions where I didn't sleep. And so I can go without sleep and I can be totally fine. And I think the distinction, and we're right at time here, I think the distinction with the difference is figuring out where you perform at your best. Meaning, where are you in terms of all of the boxes being checked? How much rest? Have I rested? Have I hydrated? Have I meditated? Have I exercised? Have I slept? Have I read? Have I filled myself up? Have I had fun? Have I, right? Figure out what all of the things are. And then when you feel like you're pushing, are you pushing for a breakthrough, or are you just pushing to your detriment? And it's really knowing the difference. And there's always another level, because I can look back and see times when I have pushed through because I just had to. There was just stuff going on and it was a big weight, and I just needed to just push through for the sake of pushing through. But I certainly was not performing at my best. And when I let go of, emotional or physical or a situation resolved or whatever it looked like, my performance was better and easier. I know I can write 1,000 words in an hour in the morning. 1,000 words in the evening, I can do it. I can make myself do anything.
Right.
It's just they're not the best words, and it's not me at my best.
Right.
So it's knowing the difference. And that's part of why the STMA works, is because you can do 100 days and go, okay, so I could see all these things in retrospect, and now I can apply it to my next 100 days. So thanks for talking about the book with me, Lucas, in this hour. It's been a really fun discussion. I appreciate it very much.
And it's a fantastic book. I mean, if you guys are, if none of this is resonating with you, then you're probably not being honest with yourself as a business owner. I don't know.
Or you're not ready, right?
Yeah,
you're not ready. That's okay.
I just don't know too many business owners that that haven't faced these challenges, or artists who haven't faced these challenges. And if anything, I feel like you could read this book and glean a couple of nuggets that could help you take what you're doing to the next level if you're already rolling. Like, in many places in my work life, I'm rolling. I don't even need to think twice about them. I'm just going, but they're not perfect. There's nothing perfect about what I do. There never will be everything perfect.
That's right.
So I can always have opportunities to improve. And I feel like this book is the right size, the right voice, the right approach for refining existing systems, not just establishing new ones. So for people, that's one of the beauties of this book, is that it, in my opinion, helps people at all different stages of what they're doing, because it is a continuous improvement kind
I'm
of
still
effort.
doing it.
That's
It's
right.
34 years. 34. What?
Yeah.
34 years since I did my first 100-day plan, and I still sit down and answer all the questions, and I still set the goals, and I still know what day it is, and I'm still in the soup, and I freaking love it. It's really fun. And the cool part is that there are people that do it and love it too. They're old clients of mine that I don't speak to all the time, but they'll every so often they'll message me, I just finished another 100 days. Here's what I did. Thank you so much. It's just great. It's just super fun.
Love it. I'm using it right now for a book launch. I'll be turning it around and putting it right back into operation for the last quarter. I actually apply this as like a quarterly goal. I know people are going, wait a second, 100 days, that's not a quarter. But dude, if you got a week or two overlap, it's okay. Especially at the beginning of the cycle, when I'm a little lighter on the obligation up front, more of the planning phase. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing everything. I appreciate you updating the book, putting out a second edition, keeping people on their toes. And guys, you'll be able to find links to it. Honoree does help people become short-term massive action practitioners. So if you're interested in talking to her about that, Honoree, is it the best way to do that is to just reach out to you directly through your website?
Yeah, just send me an email for sure.
All right. So that's Honoree at honoreequarter.com, correct?
It is.
There you go.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for visiting with us. Honoree, thanks so much for sharing.